I'm a professional ballet dancer for a living, but I also do some modeling in my spare time. Last weekend, I was doing a latex shoot. Before anybody says anything, it wasn't anything fetish-wise. It was just a shoot that called for wearing more uncommon types of fabrics. My outfit was a black full-body catsuit, so think of a skin-tight garment that covers from neck to toe, including gloves. If you've ever put on a wetsuit, then you can probably imagine how much of a pain it is. It's a pretty in-depth process that involves lots of baby powder, a lot of sweat, and some less than ladylike stances. Dressing usually takes anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes start to finish. I always dread it, but can't argue with the results. Anyway, my boyfriend was in my dressing room as I was getting changed. He doesn't always come along for shoots, but I needed him that day because my car is being repaired and we needed to go somewhere afterwards. His one kinda annoying thing is that he talks to me while I'm getting changed even though I very politely asked him to let me do it in peace. If I'm just putting on a dress or something less complicated, it's not a problem. But with latex, you have to concentrate, seriously. My facial expression is pretty similar to when I'm doing heavy leg presses or squats at the gym, so that the garment slips on correctly and, more importantly, you don't rip it. It's very easy to tear if you're not careful. And a full-body catsuit can cost upwards of $700 to $800 minimum. So as I'm struggling, may have been on the floor on my back with my feet up on a chair, pushing my butt up to get the garment over my hips, he won't stop talking. Come on, girl, you got this. Do you want help? I don't think you put on enough baby powder. Babe, you got this, get that big ass in there. And I politely asked him several times to just let me concentrate. He responds by saying, relax, I'm just trying to help, before patting me on the butt. I'd had enough. I demanded he stand outside because he was being super distracting and I couldn't afford to rip the garment. I didn't ask him to help because there's a technique to getting latex on and he doesn't have it. He got all pissy and was like, whatever, maybe you need a bigger size anyway, before leaving the shoot completely and taking the car. I had to get an Uber home after the shoot. On one hand, I was getting super frustrated, I was hot and sweaty, and combined with my kinda short temper, I was getting pissed off that I couldn't get the suit on. On the other hand, I asked him multiple times not to comment or distract me. And I never indicated that I was in the mood to be touched. Me and my wife, Jessie, had our daughter 2 years ago. Jessie is a smoker. She doesn't smoke a lot, but she consumes 2/3 a day. She wanted to be the one who got pregnant and I told her that she couldn't smoke at any point in the pregnancy, and only after our baby stopped breastfeeding, she could start consuming again. She agreed. I'm against smoking, I don't smoke, but it doesn't bother me that much other people smoke, and to my delight, Jessie was never a person who smelled like cigarettes despite being a smoker. The reason I'm against it's that my father died of lung cancer and guess what, he smoked. When our daughter was born, I managed to stay at home for 1 year and 3 months, because it hit the pandemic and home office. So we could both take care of it. Jessie also took advantage of the home office, same company, I'm in a higher position. When our company asked for employees to come back from the home office, we decided that we didn't want to put her in childcare yet, and we decided together that I would come back, and she would quit to stay at home all the time. Currently, we have a fair division of tasks at home. When I get home from work I take care of our daughter so she can rest, and 2 days a week, part-time, I work at home so as not to overload. I know she stays overwhelmed, but I try to help. Recently, our daughter weaned and Jessie came to talk to me that she wanted to finally start smoking again. I said that I wouldn't pay for them, but I pay for everything. I even proposed to rearrange my schedule in case she wanted to do some freelancer. She's also a designer. But I wouldn't give her the money. THR cigarettes are my limit. She was annoyed, saying that we agreed on her being SOM and that I would provide financially for the family, including her expenses, and I am going behind our agreed. I never paid back / would pay for a cigarette of hers, and she has known this for years. She's still mad at me, saying I'm using being the breadwinner to not let her smoke and forcing her to look for another way to earn money to buy something she wants. I don't know if I'm wrong, but cigarettes are a choice and a bad addiction. I don't feel comfortable paying for it. Given my family history, I always made it very clear that I would never pay for a cigarette. When we made the decision for her to be some, I told her I wouldn't feel right paying for her cigarette, and she reassured me that it was something I wouldn't have to worry about. She does freelance to make some purchases she wants. There are months when we are tighter and we can't do some shopping, so she does freelancing. It's rare, but it happens, and on those days, our daughter stays with me even if it's at my service. I never limited any of her purchases, ever, if not because of tight money. For more extravagant purchases of hers that I can't afford, she freelances and buys. So I suggested she do one a month that covers her entire cigarette stash, and I would help by staying with our daughter. She is not entirely financially dependent on me. When she wants to buy something that I can't afford with our money, she makes a design request. My wife and I have a 2-year-old son and have been married for 4 years. Our anniversary was a month ago, and we found a nice, secluded cabin on Airbnb and rented it out for a long weekend getaway. My wife asked her parents if they would be willing to watch our son, and they agreed as long as we dropped him off at their house. That worked for us since it was on our way anyway. I was raised Lutheran and my wife was raised Catholic, but neither of us currently go to church and have not had our son baptized. My mother-in-law knows this and hates it. She thinks our son needs to be baptized or he will burn in hell. She's that kind of Catholic. So we go on our trip, and when we pick up our son and ask how the weekend went, mother-in-law says everything went fine and that she has saved my son's soul from the devil. I ask her what she meant, and she says she had our son baptized that morning at her church. I tried my best to keep my cool so I didn't scream at mother-in-law in front of my son, but I pretty much grabbed my son and left. On the car ride home I was fuming and told my wife as calmly as I could that this would be the last time her parents have our son unsupervised. She tried to downplay what her mom had done, but I told her we need to wait until we get home to talk about it because I'm not fighting in front of my kid. When we got home and had a chance to talk about it, things got heated. I told my wife I no longer trust her parents with our son, and that if they did something like this behind our backs, I can't trust them to respect our wishes as parents in the future. I said this was a huge breach of trust and I will forever look at her mom differently. She continued to try to defend her mom, saying that she was only doing what she thought was best for her grandson. She even downplayed it by saying that it's just a little water and a few words and we don't go to church anyway, so what does it matter? I told her that under no circumstances will I allow her parents to watch our son by themselves again. I said that we can still let them see their grandson, but only if we are present. I also said that if she doesn't see what the big deal is with this situation, that maybe we aren't on the same page as parents and maybe we need to see a counselor. She started crying and said that this isn't the kind of decision I get to make on my own, and I'm an asshole for trying to tell her what kind of relationship her parents can have with our son. I told her that I no longer have any trust or respect for her parents and that I don't know if there's anything they can do to repair that. I told her what her parents did was unforgivable in my eyes, and they put themselves in this position to lose privileges with our son. She's been trying to convince me to change my mind for the last month, but I'm not budging. To me, this is a hill I'm willing to die on. I'm a native French speaker from Canada, but I have a very pronounced Acadian/kayak accent. For those who don't know, it's pretty much a mix of French and English with some local dialect thrown in there. Pretty common in the Maritimes, where I still live. I'm perfectly bilingual in both languages. I started dating my boyfriend, who only speaks English, about 4 years ago and spent a lot of time with his family. They've all been really great, except for one of his aunts. She says she was a French teacher in Anglophone schools for over 40 years up until a year ago and even studied in France. And she insists on only talking to me in French. I agreed at first since I didn't want to be rude to his family, but it's getting super weird. I don't understand how she was able to teach kids English or how she comes up with most of her sentence. Like I have to guess 90% of whatever she says and hope I'm right because it makes absolutely no sense. Example, she said a la citrouille la tarte va bien dans ma bouche, which roughly translates to the pumpkin a pie goes well in my mouth, when she meant this pumpkin pie tastes delicious. She constantly criticizes my accent and tries to correct my pronunciation of certain words, and tells me I need to pick a language. When I accidentally say something in kayak, speaking proper Francais standard, is actually getting harder for me since I've been only studying / working in English. So last night during dinner she started going on about how Acadians were uneducated and made no effort to properly learn a language, which is total BS, and obviously weirdly directed at me. For the rest of the night I stopped guessing what she was trying to say to me in French, acting like I didn't understand anything, and started correcting her as well, which was pretty much every single sentence she said. I wasn't trying to be rude or aggressive about it, but after a while she gave up on the French and ignored me for the rest of the night. Turns out she was super pissed and told everyone I was trying to embarrass her in front of everyone. Looking back, I think I might have taken it too far by not stopping after 2 to 3 sentences, and I feel bad. My boyfriend said I was being why, while his mom said she probably deserved it. Forgot to mention that I told her a few years ago that it's hard for me to fully speak proper French as I spoke Kayak all my life. Tried to explain Acadian culture, she wasn't having it, surprise, and she stopped for a while but is now doing it again.